Howdy YouTube parts, Jack Spade back here with you, High Noon Leatherworks for another leather adventure. Today we're going to continue the next project of building a Concho keychain, and we're using a buffalo head nickel concho, and today we're going to be doing some grooving and making our stitching holes, and then we're going to be doing some dyeing. So come on in and let's get started. Alright, I got my groover tool here. Got a single stitch punch and a 2-stitch punch that I'll be using. And first thing I want to do is I want to groove only around where I'm going to stitch. So it will be front and back, but I don't want to groove all the way up into here where that's going to fold over and hold the key ring. So I'm going to take my little stylus and I'll make a start and finish mark for my grooving. And you can measure it if you'd like. I'm just going to do it by eye. I did put my grooving tool down here so I knew how far in I was going. And it's almost about 1/8 of an inch. So I'll mark that, then I'll turn it around to the back side. And I'll mark the back side. And I'm just putting a little indentation in there so I know where to start and stop when I do my grooving. So pick up my grooving tool. I'll start on the front, on the right hand side, right in that indentation that I made. And I'm going to try to make a nice smooth transition all the way around this round. Notice as I'm pulling on the grooving tool toward me, I'm twisting the leather so I don't have to do all of the turning with my wrist. So a little at a time. You don't want to make any big turns or you get some jagged edges. And then when I get to the end, my end mark, I'm just going to take that and I'm going to turn that around and twist it and go back toward my groove. And then that's going to give me my waist. So there's my groove. That lighter color all the way around. Then I'll flip it over to the back and I'll do the same thing. Now what that's going to do is I'm going to mirror the front. So you want to make sure that you do it the exact same way you did the front, because that groove should match the one that you put in the front side. Again, turn it around and there's the groove on that side. So next what I want to do is I'll take a piece of backing leather, just scrap, and I'm going to lay it down on my workbench and then put my keychain on top of that. And I'll start out with my 2-prong punch. And then I have to grab a mallet. using a soft plastic mallet, but it's got a little bit more weight to it. And I'll start right where I put my mark to start my grooving. So I'll work my way down. You could probably use a 4-tooth punch. The only problem with that is this is kind of a swooping angle all the way around this, and if you go too many teeth on your punch for your stitching, then you could get it to where it's not round all the way around. You may get off of your actual grooving line, and you don't want to do that. So as we go around the corner, that 2-tooth stitching punch is going to make that much easier to continue on that groove line. And this hammer does have a little more weight to it, so I don't have to hit it so many times. But the bad part about that is it will wear you out quicker using a heavier hammer or mallet. And then I keep turning my piece also, because I want to try to keep that those stitching holes in front of me. And you can see how those holes are getting punched through there. And I'll continue around this corner. And what I'm doing is taking my stitching punch, putting one tooth in the last hole that I punched, and that puts a new hole next to that in the exact same spacing all the way around. So you're using those teeth on that punch to keep your exact spacing. Again, you could probably use one that's got more teeth. The only problem is when you're doing a swooping round edge like this, you could get out of your groove line, and then you got a problem. So I'm coming to the end here, and it looks like I'm going to get one more hole out of this. So there's the front with all the stitching holes punched. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to come back, flip that over just like it will be before I stitch it, and I'm going to take my single punch and I'm going to put it in my first hole that I started in on the front side, and I'm going to punch that down to where it goes through the back side. And then I'll take that up, take a look at it, and it's fairly close. Looks like I missed my groove just a little bit, so I may have to put extend my groove a hair. So that'll tell me whether I need to do that or not. Again, I'll line that up, put it in the first hole on the other side, and do the same thing. Again, need to extend that groove just a hair. So take my grooving tool, extend it to that hole, go over to the other side, extend that groove to that hole, and now I'm ready to do my punching all the way around on this side. And what that does is that gives me the exact starting and stopping point on each side. So I can put that together the way it's going to be stitched. Again, hold it good and tight. Put that punch in there. That gets me my first hole on that side. First hole on that side. So I know exactly where to start. You can see those starting holes. So again, now I can take my 2-tooth punch and I can start going around the back side. Again, I'll go a little quicker this time. Spinning that leather around, trying to keep the groove in front of me so I can see exactly what I'm doing. I don't want to miss that groove. I want to make sure I keep all those punched holes for stitching right in that groove. That's what's going to keep our stitch nice and flat and uniform as far as the height off of the leather. And then the stitching holes using these punches, that's what's going to keep our stitches nice and uniform away from one another around that groove. So you can do this project with very few basic tools and end up with a really nice finished product that you can give as a gift. You could sell at trade shows, craft shows. So there's all my stitches on the back side. There's the front side. I know that's the front side because of the concho hole. And then when I cut this out, after I got done off camera last video, I took a bunch of the scrap that I had left and I just cut out 6 more of those. And this was all out of little pieces of scrap that I had laying around. So I can quickly do these one after the other, or do all my grooving, do all my punching on each one of them, and end up with several of these when I'm finished. So we've got our holes punched. Now we're going to do our dyeing. So let's move the tools out of the way and grab my dyeing cardboard. And I am going to use a mahogany dye this time. I'm not sure if I'd use this on video or not, but it's a real pretty color. It'll go good with that antique silver buffalo nickel concho. Put on my protective gloves. Shake up my dye. Again, that's mahogany and it is fibings. Make sure that I grab a rag. Again, I use these disposable rags in a box so I can just throw those away with the rest of the stuff that I'm using when I'm dyeing leather. Again, I'll use my rag, clean my bottle off real good. I like to keep all my bottles nice and clean, so when I'm looking around at them or looking at different colors, I don't have to worry about getting that on my hands if I don't have a pair of gloves on. So take my wool dauber, and I'm going to coat the front side first, and this will dry a little lighter than that. Pretty dark now, blends into the background of my cardboard. We'll do the back. A lot of people wonder why I dye the backs of these if I'm going to fold them over and stitch them together anyway. Nobody's ever going to see the inside. Well, you can see around the edge of it where it's sewn, because you've got here on this edge, you've got 1/8 of an inch or so between where the edge is and where your stitches begin. So I just like to dye both sides. It doesn't take that much more dye, and it just makes it look much more professional. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a second coat so it soaks in real good on the front side. And then I'm going to take my rag and I'm going to wipe the excess off. And then we're ready to let that dry. And you can see it a little bit better if I put it on that light background. So there's the next step completed on the Buffalo Nickel Concho Keychain project. Come on back next time and we'll be going ahead and putting on the key ring, the concho, and stitching it. So we'll be finishing that project up. So this is a short project, but I think you're going to be shocked how great it looks when we're done. So like I always say, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.